one of the things they teach you in most traditional programs is avoid people, places, and things that are associated with your use. I'm sorry to say this, but if you want long-term success, I would argue that's the opposite of what you want to do. Welcome to the Ignited Recovery Podcast, a new way forward for anyone looking for answers but feeling left out. If you've been searching for empowerment, triumph, and purpose, you've found them right here. You won't hear the same solutions, and you're not going to have any excuses to fall back on, because Ignited Recovery allows heroes to rise and become their best selves. I'm Dr. Addict, and I can't wait to be your guide on this journey. Are you ready to become an ignited hero? Your life is lived between the level of activation you wake up at and your threshold. Every moment of every day, all the time. Most of the time, we talked about the falling off the cliff version of drinking. Most of the time, you don't realize that you're about to cross your threshold because nobody's ever had a conversation like this with you. So you cross it, even if you had quit or you were close to quitting or you're only drinking a half a drink every 3 days, whatever your thing is, the moment comes, the threshold gets crossed, and you say the thing we all say, like, fuck this. I'm done. Fuck it. I'm going to go have a fucking drink. I don't care what I told people. I'm done. Anybody ever have that moment before? Yeah. Your threshold got crossed. Our job is to do two things. Do the daily maintenance. This is the daily rituals, the exercise, the nutrition, all the stuff that we can do to get our activation level at the start of the day to be as low as possible. Mindfulness, journaling, cognitive behavioral therapy, reality testing, all that stuff. If I wake up in the morning, my head is talking trash to me, but I know through reality testing work and CBT work over the years, this is just what my head does in the morning. It doesn't mean I have to believe it. It's just what happens in the morning. Then even though there's noise, I'm not really paying attention to it, and it doesn't get me even to a 10. It gets me like a 5, right? So, but by the way, the thing I just explained took me years to get in place. It sounds really simple. It's not that simple. So the lower I start, the more room I have to play with. My threshold can be a 6, but if I wake up at a 0 or a 5 or 60, I have 55 points to play with. I'm pretty good. A shit ton of stuff can happen all day, and I'm still fine by the end of the day. But if I wake up at a 40 and my threshold is a 60, I'm walking on eggshells. Because one wrong move from somebody stepping on my shoes, cutting me off in traffic, telling me my project sucked, yelling at me for the fact that I slipped up or relapsed, whatever that is, I'm gone already. So one thing is reducing the floor. How low can you get your floor? The tools I just talked about, there are 2 levels. First, you have to clear all the mess that's been there for a while. I know that's the part that takes a long time. All the internal battles, the internal language, all that kind of stuff we do. We have to get at each one of those and knock them out. Because each one of those negative thoughts, negative memories, negative ways of looking at ourselves, they add to the weight. But that's, it's doable, and with support, it's just time. It's just a matter of time. Openness and time. The next piece, so as you clear that out, one of the next pieces we do is on understanding how to tolerate the stress. This is the first time I'm talking about publicly, but we are going through essentially creating Hero 2.0 that will not only create like better video for you guys watching the program, but also some added on content. This stress tolerance is one of the things that we're going to create a much bigger portion of. But the concept of distress tolerance is this. We do it here in an implicit way by me having really uncomfortable conversations with you. Distress tolerance is the idea that I'm going to talk about, do, watch, hear really uncomfortable things that activate me, things that cause me pain, anxiety, stress, that bring me closer to depression. And I'm going to do the job of sitting with the discomfort. I'm going to recognize my ability to observe my feelings. I'm going to watch myself be uncomfortable and not think that it means anything bad about myself, not think that it means I have to leave, right? Not mean that I'm damaged because I'm having a hard time right now. Everybody in the universe has a hard time sometimes. That is normal. It's our ability, we talked earlier about how you found a substance or multiple substances earlier on in life that meant that when you felt uncomfortable, you did the thing and then you weren't uncomfortable anymore. That sounds like a wonderful solution. The only problem is it doesn't get you better at dealing with discomfort. So we got to do that. Because once you get better at dealing with discomfort, this will happen to you one day. How many people have had the following thing happen to them one day? You see yourself going in life through an experience where you know with 100% certainty you would have gone home and drank, or you would have stopped over and gone to the bar, or you would have pulled out a joint and smoked right there, or you would have like gone visited a porn site, whatever your thing is, you would have jumped at it. And you see yourself having the thing happen and you're not engaging in the behavior. Has anybody had that happen? To me, that's one of the most empowering moments you can ever have. Because what you've experienced is the subjective experience of your threshold moving up. You learn how to manage something, a level of stress that you hadn't learned how to manage before. And the reason I'm saying it's one of the most empowering, maybe you haven't thought about this before, those of you who've had it, is if you can do it for one thing, you can do it for anything. The moment you realize you have the power to stand there and have an experience that before would have led you to using, and be there present for it and not have to jump back into old behavior, there's this recognition that goes, oh shit, if I can do this for this thing, what else can I do it for? What other triggers, family members, TV shows, movies, places in the world, fill in your blank, can I learn to experience and not slip up? And I don't know. It's like this, any time in life that you discovered you can do something you never thought you could do before, riding a bicycle, all those like moments, they're big moments because now you can do something in the world. And I'll be honest, like once you discover for yourself how that works and what tools allow you to do that, it's now just repetition. Go back, do it more. But listen to what I'm saying. This is the exact opposite. We have an exercise called the trigger exposure therapy exercise in the program. This is an example of one of those. How many people have been to program like AA before? So when you talk about people, places, and things, one of the things they teach you in most traditional programs is avoid people, places, and things that are associated with your use. I'm sorry to say this, but if you want long-term success, I would argue that's the opposite of what you want to do, especially if your thing is alcohol, food, or sex. I don't know about you, but you're probably going to run into those at some point in the future. I hope, unless you like move to a monastery and on top of some mountain and never see any other human being, those things will come across. Moving away from them does two things. First of all, it teaches you that you can't deal with them, number one. Secondly, the way your brain works, the literal neuroscience of how your brain works, is triggers and cravings, they're memory activations. So when you see a bar that you used to like a lot, the reason you want to drink is your brain goes, hey, when we see this bar, we go drinking. That's why the craving is there. But the lie of avoidance of those triggers is that if you avoid them over time, you'll be safer from them. That's not how your brain works. If you avoid a trigger, this is literally how the neuroscience of learning works. If you avoid a trigger for 12 years, you never see it, never think about it. Do you know what happens the moment you see it again? Your brain reacts exactly the way it did the last time you saw it. How many of you, has anybody ever run across like an ex that you haven't seen in years and years and years and you haven't thought about? Or yeah. And you feel like this anxiety and this weirdness the moment you see them back, it takes you a second to kind of catch yourself. You could not care about them anymore, not care about the relationship. Not like, it's not that you're back in that place, but your body has the same reaction because that's the last time it was trained. So what you do, and some of you have seen me do this with people in the program here, what you actually have to do is train yourself to sit through the discomfort of the trigger. Because what your brain does then, and there are specific techniques where I'm just talking about it broadly right now, what your brain does in that moment is it has to learn how to deal with that trigger differently. And we're not talking about hundreds of experiences, guys. The best research shows we're talking about something between like 5 and 11 experiences with that thing. So if you've got some really big triggers, people in your life, experiences that have been triggering for you, etc. Diving into the deep end of the pool, once you're safe with support and all these other pieces, right? Don't just randomly start experimenting with as many triggers as possible. But by putting yourself in a situation to unravel the trigger, you actually change your brain's relationship to it for the rest of your life. And that really disempowers the external environment from controlling your behavior. So I hope that makes sense. I know it's a lot, but that's distress tolerance. If you can do that more, you've now done a couple of things. You have lowered your level of activation on the front end of the day, right? So you start out lower here, and you have more room to operate. And then you have some freedom. You have some freedom to go and experience life as it is. Because look, I and everybody else in the world, no matter how good we are at what we do, we can't deliver a perfect, pain-free, stress-free, anxiety-free life for you. We just can't. I would say that I wish I could do it for you, but I don't even know that that's true, because it would kind of be boring after a while. It would sound nice for a while, and then you'd kind of be bored. So the ups and downs of life that Kathy describes in her message, that, Tim, the nuances of sometimes I want to quit, sometimes I don't, all these little pieces, they are normal parts of operating. That isn't a problem. That's what I call reality, right? You got to figure out if the thing you're dealing with is a problem or reality. The ups and downs of life, they're a reality. The problem is that your threshold is too low and that your level of activation in the morning is too high. And so as the natural ups and downs of life happen, you don't have a lot of room to operate. So that is the kind of the machine magic of doing what we do. And then for each one of you, every single person who's tuned in here right now, what I want you to feel is that if you dig in deeply and Tim, when we talked about what's the noise in your head, what are the thoughts, what are the beliefs, that's this stuff. If we can understand that, we can lower your level of angst, anxiety, etc. when the day starts. We can give you a supportive environment where you can get into deep conversations without feeling judged, without feeling shamed, without feeling less than. And that will quiet the noise in your head. And then you layer on top of that the ability to deal with more noise. And, I mean, I hate saying it because it sounds a little glib given what's going on in the world right now. But Sophie and I say this, my wife, Sophie and I say this all the time. Like, the world is having a really difficult moment right now, but we're good. We're really definitely as good as we could be given what's happening right now. But my internal state is not really that dependent on what's going on outside of my life. Does that make sense? It used to be. Every time I would wake up in the morning, what I worried about was, what do people think of me, and how am I showing up, and did I do enough, right? I used to have this external way of measuring how much I'm worth. It's just not that way anymore. The next piece is radical acceptance. And my guess is if we talked about it for a while, there are pieces of you that say, what the hell was wrong with me? Why didn't I come out earlier? Why did I get, like, there's a million whys, and they still weigh you down. So this next part, and I don't know if this is the most difficult part. To me, it's one of the most rewarding parts. Understanding why is good because you stop being scared of why things happen when you don't understand them. But acceptance is this level of reward that I can't explain to people until they experience it. There will be negative talk. I should have, I could have, I didn't. I know, man, I don't even have to have gone. I had, I think a lot of men have some of this happen in life, but I had like homosexual experience when I was really, really young, and it caused like some issues for me when I was like 18 to 20. But there are things that can come up in your head out of nowhere. The impact you had on other people's lives, the impact you had on your own life. Anyway, I don't have to tell it to you. You have a laundry list of them in your own head. Unraveling the shame and I call it anchoring, the anchoring that is left over from these old negative self-beliefs. And the moment you get to a place where oh my God, you know what? I did my best. I did all I knew how to do. I tried to protect my faith. I tried to protect what I thought I was supposed to be like. It just never dawned on me. And plus, nobody told you in the environment that you were growing up in. Nobody told me I could actually just take this action. I had to figure it out on my own. And it just took me a while. And the thing I'm sharing with you guys is the stuff that worked for me, man. We all have these voices in our heads. The question is not to make them go away. The question is just to accept, like, there's a version of you wake up proud to be part of every single day. And I can't wait to see that version of you. And man, what a way to end this. Thank you all so much. I mean, this is what this program is about discovering your inner hero. It sounds a little cliche when you start it, but those of you who are on here right now and have already started doing that, you know, I'm not bullshitting everybody. It's just like, it's just magic when you get there. Keep connecting with us. Ask questions. For those of you who are brand new, help@ignited.com. Just shoot any question you have and we'll deal with them here, okay? Thank you all so much. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Thank you for tuning in to the Ignited Heroes Recovery Podcast. I really hope you found the information here useful and that we'll see you back here next week. And look, I want to make sure that this podcast is the most useful it can be for you, so please let me know by emailing info@ignited.com if there are any specific topics or questions you'd like to have addressed. As usual, if you like this episode, I would love for you to leave us a 5-star review and rating. Thanks, and see you next week.